People are born, and people die. And the second that happens, their physical tie to this world is permanently severed. Their chapter on Earth is officially closed. Science, logic, and basic common sense all back this up. Sure, the ripple effects of their good deeds might benefit society for generations, or, on the flip side, the fallout from their toxic choices might haunt people for centuries. But the person themselves, they are entirely out of the equation. But here's what the living can do. We can step back and put the legacy, the actions, and the catastrophic mistakes of the dead under the microscope. And by doing that, we figure out exactly what not to do moving forward. That's how human progress actually works. Today, we're putting the legacy of one specific dead man under that microscope. We're going to look at the mainstream narrative about him and ask the hard questions. Is it actually true? Or is there a dark reality lurking beneath the surface? One that people are just too terrified to talk about. That man is Sayyid Ali Khamenei. Born in Iran, his most defining characteristic was his iron grip on politics. From 1989 all the way to 2026, for a staggering 37 years, he sat at the absolute center of power as Iran's supreme leader. So, as the ultimate political shot caller, what did he actually leave behind for Iran? If you strip away the propaganda and look at the facts, he essentially just doubled down on his predecessor's playbook, meaning he completely suffocated any chance for independent grassroots political parties to grow. He took the traditional Shia Islamic political system and locked it down in a chokehold. On paper, it looks like they have elections. They have a president. But let's call a spade a spade. It's a hardcore theocracy wearing a democratic mask. The public only gets to vote for a glorified spokesperson. The actual unchecked power? It's hoarded by an unelected, unaccountable religious and military elite. And the fallout from this setup? Total political gridlock, a tanked economy, massive social unrest, and endless waves of protests. And to keep a lid on all this chaos, they engineered the IRGC. Make no mistake, this isn't just a military branch, it's an absolute juggernaut controlling the economy, manipulating politics, and serving as the ultimate crackdown machine against everyday citizens. Supporters at home and abroad try to spin this whole system as an Islamic democracy to grab some shred of global legitimacy. But if you take a step back and look at it objectively, it's nothing but a repressive, outdated, authoritarian regime. During his 37-year reign, Khamenei brutally crushed multiple domestic uprisings through mass arrests, executions, and throwing people in black sites. He mercilessly trampled over free speech, freedom of movement, and even the freedom to choose what to wear. What his loyalists celebrate as strong, successful leadership is, by every metric of political science, the hallmark of a failed state and a ruthless dictator. Which brings us to the elephant in the room. Despite all of this, how did he maintain such a massive base of support? How does a regime like this actually manufacture loyalty? The secret sauce is baked right into Khamenei's own upbringing. The exact system used to brainwash and paralyze Iran is the one he went through himself. He started religious schooling at just 4 years old, and by 1958, he was steeped in Shia theology in the holy city of Qom before jumping into anti-Shah politics in the 60s. He basically copy-pasted that exact blueprint onto the entire nation. The Iranian education system was weaponized to frame this specific religious ideology as absolute, divine truth. Everyday culture was forced into a rigid, religious straitjacket. As a result, even if someone couldn't care less about religion, state pressure forces them to fall in line and play the part. State-sponsored myths and narratives are pumped out 24/7, creating this hyper-unique, isolated religious echo chamber. And internationally, it's a masterclass in proxy politics. Iranian embassies aggressively push this curated cultural narrative abroad. From their ideological capital in Qom, they've built a massive global network. To keep this web intact, they funnel insane amounts of dark money, weapons, and resources to proxy groups across the Middle East. A long game they've been playing since 1979. That's exactly how this authoritarian machine built its loyal base at home and bought its geopolitical backup abroad. Long story short, this brand of religious politics is basically just fascism by another name. Analysts hit the nail on the head when they call it theocratic authoritarianism. In this system, grassroots political participation, freedom of expression, or even just having an alternative thought simply does not exist. You want to speak your mind online? Good luck. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all completely blocked by a digital iron curtain. The government literally flips the internet off like a light switch whenever they feel threatened. Running an independent TV station, radio, or news portal is a serious crime. The media is a tightly controlled echo chamber, leaving citizens completely dependent on state-fed propaganda. Socially, the control is absolutely suffocating. From draconian, mandatory hijab laws to cracking down on modern fashion or anything deemed Western or indecent.
Who lie in wait all across the country. Morality police officers such as these women dressed head to toe in black hunt down all those who don't wear the headscarf correctly.
Aren't you ashamed of doing that?
The punishments are severe. Literature, movies, art, everything has to pass the regime's strict religious purity test. Step out of line with an independent thought, you're instantly slapped with the label of anti-revolutionary and cancelled by the state. Fast forward to February 28, 2026. A joint US-Israeli airstrike takes out Sayyid Ali Khamenei. His reign was wildly polarizing. To his loyalists, he was an icon of resistance. But to his critics, he was the architect of decades of brutal oppression and economic ruin. After his death, we saw the massive rallies, the sea of mourners, the huge funeral processions. But let me ask you this. Does a massive crowd suddenly legitimize decades of shameful, authoritarian brutality? Hell no. Because truth isn't a popularity contest. Truth is reality. An honest leader who built a legacy on truth could have an empty funeral, and their life would still be an absolute triumph. But a tyrant who built an empire of lies on the backs of his own people, even with millions weeping at his casket, at the end of the day, he's just another failed, discarded dictator. Nothing more. So, what's your take on Iran's political machine and Khamenei's 37-year reign? Let's hash it out in the comments down below. If this deep dive gave you some food for thought, go ahead and smash that like button and make sure to subscribe for more hard-hitting geopolitical analysis. Stay curious, seek the truth, and I'll catch you in the next one.